In the cold months of winter, the mind tends to wander. This is the time of tending batteries, waiting for parts while we slowly work on whatever project it is that has our attention. Naturally, inspiration is a key part of the process. I'm always a sucker for analog gauges, polished aluminium or brushed stainless steel on a minimalist bike. The thoughtful and clever designs that catch our attention as we scroll through social media, e-mags, and the occasional print magazine we may happen upon, all help to focus or refine our plans. Very often the workmanship that comes through in the bikes made by professional shops is breathtaking. While we might try to replicate these techniques or parts, the almighty dollar usually has some sway in these matters. This begs the question, what if you were unconstrained by budget? What if you could commission whatever it was that you wanted? Where would you go? We gave those questions some serious thought, and developed a list of the low production, bespoke builders we think really would be worth your attention. Some of these companies you may already know, as their reputations precede them. Whereas others are more obscure, but no less deserving of your attention. Falcon Motorcycles. Ian Barry at Falcon Motorcycles immediately came to mind. Located in Los Angeles, California, Ian Barry is working at the nexus of art and engineering. We couldn't agree more. Founded in 2008, Ian's first build, the Bullet, was recognized as something particularly special. Since that time, Falcon Motorcycles has only built a total a handful of motorcycles. As each bike is largely fashioned by hand, it's no exaggeration to surmise that thousands of hours of labor goes into these extremely rare bikes. Every Falcon motorcycle begins with a vintage engine. The engine is not chosen merely by what is readily, it must have significant historical provenance or pedigree. The motor is then thoroughly reworked both inside and out. Then, slowly, a frame is built, and the other critical components gradually take shape. All of these parts are either formed by hand with traditional tools, or designed and made in a CNC machine. Only for the most essential of components, like wheels, tires and transmissions, do Falcon motorcycles use the work of others. The ethos of each bike that is commissioned always serves as the focal point around which all other design and engineering decisions are considered and made. These are among the most special motorcycles on Earth. Revival motorcycles. Our second recommendation comes from a few states over in Austin, Texas. Alan Stolberg at Revival Cycles has been busily developing some very iconic custom motorcycles. Founded in 2008, they have turned their hand to the now famous BMW R18, Birdcage, and the Ducati Sport Classic, Pyro. Revival has also been active in the moto community, developing helpful, how-to-guides podcasts and offers a repository of parts that they've manufactured all available for sale on their website. Their build bio list is long. Very long. If that isn't impressive enough on its own, when you explore each of the builds, each one takes you in on its own merits. They have an incredibly impressive diversity of design. From Moto Guzzi's and Ducatis to Harley-Davidson, Vincent's and Kawasaki's. No two bikes share much in common, apart from the fact that they have two wheels. That is what makes Revival so captivating. The creativity with which they execute each project is hard to miss. The bikes are each wildly different machines and execute the motorcycle concept in their own, unique way. If you were looking for something unique, with your own flair, you'd be wise to have a chat with the folks at Revival Cycles. KUL motorcycles. If you're thinking about a custom motorcycle, it's very likely that you're considering using a 1970s Honda CB series motorcycle as the basis of your build. If that sounds like you, we think you'd best consider Dustin KUL's shop in Los Angeles, California. KUL motorcycles have built some of the more eye-catching, minimalist cafe racers that we've seen. He's amassed quite the portfolio of builds, with the majority being CB4s with displacements of between 500cc to 750cc. KUL has developed a distinctive style that shines through most of the machines that he builds. These bikes are instantly special, and marked by a thoughtful attention to detail. The proportions of a KUL build are consistent and instantly recognizable. Deeply dropped clip-ons, a rearward sloping tank that narrows to a minimalist seat and rear tail section are the first indicators. Then you'll likely notice accents from flawless paint and an abundance of chrome, custom machined and polished parts. When taken all together, they readily point to the fact that you're looking at a KUL motorcycle. By all accounts, Dustin KUL's work is impressive. The machining and handmade components that adorn his builds are exemplary. That he prides himself on ensuring that machines are well-balanced and competent performing motorcycles that run as well as they look is paramount. If you're a fan of the cult-like CB Cafe racer scene and want a simplified and competent machine, KUL motorcycles should be at the top of your list of considerations. Hyde motorcycles. The other motorcycle that is often synonymous with customization is the Harley-Davidson. There is a long and rich history of bobbers, springers, flat trackers, and chopper builds. Admittedly, we often bemoan the fact that Harley-Davidson Corporate tries to capitalize on this history at every turn, in their marketing efforts for their modern bikes. While we feel that this is disingenuous and, maybe, even goes so far as to corrupt the ethos of the built not bought mantra of the custom community, we would be remiss if we didn't include a shop that let their hands and skills loose on the styles of custom build that are unmistakably Harley-Davidson in origin. You might be surprised to know that, for us, some of the most interesting Harley-Davidson builds we've seen do not come from the USA. For us, the best of this style is built in Japan. We've long been intrigued by the work of Hideo Tagashi of Hyde Motorcycles in particular. Hyde motorcycles are as minimalist as Harley-Davidson can be. Our favorite is Iron Sport 66. Based on a 1966 XLCH Sportster, nearly everything on the bike has been handmade. The frame, gas and oil tanks, fenders, and handlebars were all fabricated by Hyde Motorcycles. Nothing was ordered and only one man saw the project through from start to finish. The pride of workmanship is evident in every piece of metal that he made with exacting precision. The high-end custom build by Hyde Motorcycles is pure in their stripped-down simplicity. Debolix Engineering. In 2012, a little company in Great Britain started doing things little differently. Rather than sourcing very old motorcycles, and resurrecting them from whatever state of neglect had befallen them, Debolix started with the best modern production motorcycles and reimagined them for their clients. Originally, Debolix was a one-or-one company building one-off bikes like the other shops we've discussed above. They note that it was here they developed their style and particular aesthetic across these machines. The Kawasaki ZRX and Ducati 803 clearly helped hone the style that they were aiming to achieve. Debolix has since changed their focus slightly. Instead of commissioning one-of-one custom bikes, they are building highly limited run of 25 bikes. The DB25, or, as they call them, the limited series. Debolix takes a Ducati Monster 1200 as the basis of this build. They have fashioned all the tooling necessary to reimagine this already competent Italian urban street bike into a full-fairing retro racer. Making use of over 100 new custom-made components, and no shortage of carbon fiber, all the work from start to finish is carried out in-house. There is no other way to assure quality control. We'd say it's hard to disagree with that. Starting with that canvas, the customer is then free to add their own personal touches. Be it colors, mounting hardware, exhaust, as well as any other optional extras that might strike your fancy. Each DB25 motorcycle is, then, truly bespoke. Walt Siegel Motorcycles. Back on this side of the pond, well-known Walt Siegel has been doing something similar. An Austrian-born designer now settled in New Hampshire, Walt sought to imbue his creations with the European flair and passion that characterizes motorcycling. The shop is very well known for the WSM superbikes, and if you've got the means, simply complete the order form on their website. That, however, is not all that Walt has been doing. You'd likely not want to ignore the WSM adventure bike. One that, by all reviews, suggest it to be a very competent off-roading machine. Just like the superbike, you can order a custom-made adventure bike built with Walt. Originator Custom Motorcycles. Much closer to home, we've watched with some interest a builder in our own backyard. Originator Custom Motorcycles, founded by Rob Chappelle, is based in Oshawa, Ontario. Rob has turned his hand on several impressive builds over the years. A self-described adrenaline junkie, he has a long history modifying machines. All the way back to childhood, in fact. The desire to embed his personal touch combined with his skills and experience in graphic design no doubt account for the impressive level of detail in his builds. Rob's builds span a wide range of styles. Recently, he's fashioned a 1968 Triumph hardtail bobber and a 1969 Triumph Bonneville into a board tracker. So too has he developed a couple of single overhead camshaft Honda 7-50s and even some modern retro projects thrown in for good measure. Like many other shops we like, Originator has a diverse portfolio. If you had any doubts about the quality of the craftsmanship, you can set those aside. Rob's 1969 Triumph is housed at the Haas Motorcycle Museum. We think that's evidence enough of his skills. He doesn't much care for a particular brand or style of motorcycle to customize. What matters to him is attention to detail. You do very well to consider Originator Custom Motorcycles to build that bike you've been dreaming of.